Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're tackling something completely universal.
The most immediate topic there is, really.
Exactly, food. But we're not just, going to talk about what we had for lunch. We're analyzing the structure of a really good conversation about it. We've got a great set of sources here, all built around this really well-designed discussion about personal favorites.
Mm-hmm. And our mission today isn't just about what sounds delicious. It's to pull apart how this conversation works as a kind of blueprint.
A blueprint, I like that.
Yeah, it uses food as a vehicle for getting at bigger things, memory, emotion, even cultural exploration. If you've ever wanted to turn a simple question like, what did you eat today, into, a genuinely insightful exchange, this structure is basically your shortcut.
It is. The source material we're looking at is, well, it's like a highly engineered conversation outline. It hits all the right notes strategically. It starts with favorite dishes, then links them to these vivid childhood memories.
Explores international tastes.
Right. And it even gives you a vocabulary list for describing it all. It's basically structured learning, but it's disguised as just a really casual, fascinating chat. Okay, let's unpack this. What stands out first, for me at least, are the initial personal preferences they share.
They're deceptively simple choices.
So simple, but the discussion immediately elevates them by focusing on the details of how they're prepared.
And that's the key analytical insight right there. The two main favorites they identify are, at their core, comfort foods. But they don't just leave it at that.
Yeah.
First up, you have the simplicity of spaghetti with tomato sauce and cheese. I mean, that's the ultimate standard. Right? It was described as simple but delicious.
And then the other choice is almost a complete contrast. Grilled chicken. And again, it wasn't just chicken. The preference was immediately tied to the whole sensory experience.
The smoky smell, the juicy texture.
And that crispy skin. That level of detail right from the start forces the conversation to be more expressive than, just I like chicken.
It absolutely does. It also forces a choice between, say, simple ingredients that are perfected and specific preparation rituals. The person who likes spaghetti, they prefer cooking it at home.
And they say why?
And they say exactly why. It's the personal touch, adding olive oil, garlic, a little bit of spice. The favorite status isn't really about the pasta or the sauce itself. It's about the control and the personalization of those subtle flavors.
That attention to detail, the home cook controlling the exact spice level, that's what makes it their favorite. So how does that compare with the grilled chicken?
Well, the grilled chicken is described differently. It's typically served with rice and some salad,
right?
Which suggests it might be associated more with social gatherings, maybe outdoor cooking, or even dining out. It shows that the context is completely inseparable from how much you enjoy a meal.
What's fascinating here is how the discussion immediately links the food to whether it is home-cooked.
Right, or restaurant eat.
Exactly. It moves the conversation beyond just the ingredients and into ritual. Why do we eat it that way? Who are we with when we eat it?
And that bridge between ritual and food is the perfect access point to the next layer of this whole thing, emotion and memory.
Which is where this blueprint, as you called it, really starts to shine. The source explicitly says that food brings people together, that a simple meal can make a day special.
It acknowledges that the social connection often provides more flavor than the actual seasoning.
That's a great way to put it.
And the blueprint, it's smart. It dives right into specific childhood memories that anchor these powerful feelings. It takes the general enjoyment of, say, grilled chicken and turns it into the very specific memory of family dinners on weekends.
So it's not just a description of food anymore. It's like an auditory and communal snapshot.
Precisely.
I think the most powerful part of this whole section, though, is how much it relies on the memory of smell. Olfactory memory. They move on to baked goods.
The apple pie.
The apple pie, yeah. The weekly ritual of a grandmother making it every single Sunday. And what's the one defining sensory link that they mention?
The smell of cinnamon.
The smell of cinnamon.
That is such a strategic move. Smells are directly wired into the limbic system in our brains, which makes them incredibly potent memory triggers. So this conversation blueprint is actually using a highly reliable psychological mechanism.
Olfaction, right.
Olfaction, to guarantee an emotional response. It's not just about how the pie tastes, it's the aroma that instantly transports you back to that safe weekly tradition.
And then we get a third dimension of comfort, the memory of a mother's lentil soup in the winter. And again, it's not just described as flavorful, it's described specifically as warm, full of flavor, and perfect on cold nights. The whole emotional identity of that dish is rooted in physical comfort, protection from the cold.
So if you look at this structurally, the conversation has gone from a simple preference, I like spaghetti, to a full sensory experience like the smell of cinnamon, and then to an emotional context, which is warmth and security.
It's a synthesis.
It is. And it proves that food is, well, it's undeniably about emotion and memory. It's about so much more than just satisfying hunger.
Okay, but let me play devil's advocate for a second. What happens if someone's favorite food isn't tied to a happy memory? Does this blueprint just fall apart?
That's a great question. But the structure is clever. It sort of preempts that failure by how it frames the questions. It asks about your favorite dish and positive childhood memories.
I see. So it's guiding you towards the good stuff.
It's absolutely designed for connection and positive reinforcement. It's teaching you how to structure a conversation by seeking out those high-value, positive narratives first. It intentionally sets a really positive tone for the whole chat.
Okay, that makes sense. So once that foundation of home, comfort, and, positive emotion is set, the conversation intelligently shifts gears.
It does. It moves from the familiar, the domestic, and goes out into the world. It starts exploring the global plate.
International experiences.
And this shift validates the idea that our taste isn't static, it's dynamic. We get two really distinct travel food examples. First, there's the experience in Thailand, trying pad thai.
Which is described as being spicy, sweet, and incredibly flavorful, a really complex, kind of adventurous profile.
Then you have the total classic, the Italian experience, tasting real Italian pizza.
And again, the focus is on authenticity and preparation. They specifically note the soft cheese and the non-negotiable detail of a thin crust.
Right. They appreciate the difference between a local specialty and the mass market version you might get anywhere else.
These travel stories, they establish a willingness to explore new things. But a rich conversation about taste can't just be about what you love.
It can't. You have to define its limitations. So the next logical step in the blueprint is to define your taste boundaries. You shift from what did you risk trying to what will you absolutely not eat.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because analyzing how people define their taste boundaries, what they don't like, is so important.
It is.
It validates your personal taste, and it confirms your authenticity. You're not just someone who says they love everything.
And the reasons for the dislikes are what we should really analyze. One aversion mentioned is sushi. Specifically, it's because of an inability to handle raw fish.
So that sounds like a textural thing.
It's largely textural and maybe a psychological safety objection. It's about the consistency in the mouth.
And the other dislike is for very spicy food. And the reason is because the mouth just burns. That's a direct, visceral, physical limitation.
Right. It's more of a physiological inability to process that much capsaicin. It's not really a critique of the flavor itself.
So we see this crucial distinction here. The blueprint helps us differentiate between, say, a sensory aversion, like the texture of raw fish, and a physical limitation, like the heat from a spice.
Exactly. And both are valid conversational points. They confirm that while trying new food is an adventure, everyone has their own unique tolerances and boundaries. And that depth, that honesty, is what makes the conversation feel genuine.
This entire structure is just. It's remarkably instructional. It's established what they love, why they love it, the memories, the rituals, where food has taken them, and what their hard limits are.
And the final section brings it all home by giving the listener the actual linguistic tools to replicate this kind of discussion.
This is the practical takeaway.
Absolutely. The source material is very aware that its audience is looking to communicate better, and it provides this highly strategic vocabulary toolkit. This is the practical knowledge nugget that, someone trying to learn this stuff craves.
We get this really robust set of 7 descriptive adjectives going way beyond just saying something is good.
And they cover texture, flavor, preparation.
All of it. Crispy, juicy, spicy, sweet, savory, tender, and fluffy.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, these 7 words are basically the building blocks of sensory description. Notice how they're split by function. Well, crispy and fluffy are almost purely about texture. Juicy and tender relate to moisture and consistency, which are often signs of good preparation. And then spicy, sweet, savory are your primary flavor profiles.
It's a functional toolkit. These words help you articulate why the grilled chicken's skin was so memorable.
Because it was crispy.
Right. And the meat was juicy and tender. They give us precision where we usually just use these generic placeholder words.
And this attention to descriptive depth is why the whole structure works. If you can clearly articulate the texture, you're that much closer to defining the memory. But the blueprint doesn't even stop there.
No, it doesn't. Alongside those more technical adjectives, we get these expressive phrases which add the necessary emotional punch.
Like mouthwatering.
And full of flavor, and my favorite, finger-licking good.
Those phrases are what bridge the technical description with pure passion. They elevate the language from, say, clinical reporting to just enthusiastic communication. They convey excitement.
And they match the emotional weight of the memories that were discussed earlier in the conversation.
It completes the loop.
So we've really analyzed the whole progression here, defining preferences through preparation, anchoring those with memory and ritual, validating exploration through travel, securing authenticity by defining your limits.
And finally, providing the linguistic tools to talk about it all.
This conversation blueprint is genuinely powerful.
It really is. It proves that conversational depth isn't found in the complexity of the topic. I mean, it's just food, but in the quality of the follow-up questions and the structure you use to guide the discussion. This blueprint is a model for turning almost any simple topic into a rich, detailed exchange.
And before we wrap up, it's worth mentioning that the source material ends with a fantastic final task for the listener. It asks you to apply everything you just learned right away.
That task is crucial because it integrates the emotional language with the sensory language. It asks you to think about your favorite food and then describe it in 3 sentences.
And specifically, you have to cover its taste, its smell, and how it makes you feel.
You can't use simple language for that. You have to deploy the vocabulary toolkit we just talked about.
So what does this all mean? I guess the true depth of food isn't just in the ingredients or even the recipe, but in the narrative, the story we attach to them.
Right. It's how the crunch of that crispy skin or the comforting scent of that cinnamon connects you not just to a specific flavor, but to a specific moment in your life.
The source material demonstrated that even simple meals carry this powerful emotional weight that we describe using very specific sensory language.
Yeah, and given that clear connection between food, sensory input, and emotion, let's leave you with something to consider.
Okay.
Which one of the descriptive words we mentioned today, crispy, juicy, sweet, savory, tender, or fluffy, which one is the hardest to truly experience without all